nagestrelt.
What you just witnessed was a terrifying reminder of why proper safety procedures exist. As these two men attempted to mount a tractor tire on its wheel, they made a fatal mistake. Normally, when setting a tire on a wheel, you use compressed air to create an airtight seal between the tire and the rim. But these guys decided to use a shortcut. They poured something flammable, probably gasoline, inside the tire and lit it on fire with the intent of creating a mini explosion, forcing the tire into place. In this case, these guys went way overboard with the fuel. The result? Far from what they had in mind. The tire didn't simply pop into place as expected. It turned into a rocket, launching one of the men into the air like a rag doll. Amazingly, there were no casualties, which feels like a miracle considering their proximity to the explosion. Some say a mother's instinct is the strongest force in nature. In this next scary, insane dashcam footage from 2018, you'll see why. The near-death encounter you've just seen was captured by a car's dashcam on a highway in Nam Dinh, Vietnam. A family of three, a father, mother, and their young child, were riding their motorcycle at a steady pace when disaster struck. A nearby car clipped their bike, sending the mother and child tumbling onto the highway at frightening speed. As they slid across the road toward the opposite lane, a massive truck was bearing down, about to crush them. In a split-second decision that meant the difference between life and death, the mother wrapped herself around her child, using her body as a shield. This caused their bodies to come to rest mere inches from the truck's massive wheels. Meanwhile, the father, struggling to control the skidding motorcycle, barely escaped being crushed himself. He managed to stop just millimeters from the truck's path before rushing to his family's aid. Your heart probably skipped a beat watching this security footage from November 11, 2024, that involved a 19-year-old lady whose attempt to reboard a moving train went horrifically wrong. The incident happened around 8 a.m. at Kannur railway station in India, as the young woman, traveling from Thalassery to Mangaluru on the weekly train ride, had stepped off during the brief stop to buy biscuits, unaware that the train stops at Kannur for only 3 minutes. Before she could buy what she wanted, the train was already taking off. Panicked, she abandoned her goods and rushed to reboard the moving train, but tragically missed her step, slipping into the gap between the train and the platform. Thankfully, passengers nearby quickly alerted railway police and catering staff, who acted fast to inform the driver. The train was brought to a halt, and the woman was rescued from the perilous situation. Despite the horrifying fall, she escaped with only minor injuries and was taken to the district hospital for treatment. The next insane video is that of a man who went on an adventure but ended up coming face to face with one of nature's most fearsome predators.
Oh! Ah! 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 Ah!
heart-stopping footage from October 2022 captures a Japanese climber's worst nightmare on Mount Futago. What started as a routine descent turned into a fight for survival when an angry black bear suddenly appeared on the cliff face. The bear immediately jumped to attack the man, but this climber wasn't going down without a fight. With lightning-fast reflexes, he threw up his arms and managed to push the bear off the mountain. You'd think that would have been the end of it, but no. This bear was determined. It scrambled back up and launched a second attack only for the man to fend it off with his legs. A third attack followed, and the climber, fighting for his life, made it clear he wasn't about to become bear lunch. Finally, the bear gave up, retreating into the undergrowth. But even as it disappeared, you can see the climber repeatedly glancing back, clearly rattled and expecting another ambush. This downright eerie video was posted recently and has been going viral. Captured in China with the caption, "Cockroach Sanctuary," this video shows a worker collecting thousands of cockroaches from special racks where they're intentionally bred. In the clip, you can see roaches spilling out of the racks and crawling in all directions. The worker doesn't even flinch, calmly holding the racks while the bugs crawl all over him like it's just another day at work. You can tell he's been doing this for years. How else would he stay so chill with cockroaches on his clothes? As gross as it looks, there's actually a good reason for this. Cockroach farms are becoming a big deal in China, because once they're harvested, they're turned into a protein powder used in animal feed. Captured by security cameras and a dash cam, the following two videos from Vilnius Airport in Lithuania in the early hours of November 25, 2024, recorded what would go down as one of the most horrific crashes. The footage begins with what looks like a routine aircraft landing, the plane descending steadily toward the runway. But then it becomes clear something is terribly wrong. The aircraft dips too low, veering dangerously close to buildings before colliding with one of them in a catastrophic crash. Within seconds, the impact triggers a massive fireball, sending thick, black smoke billowing into the air. For 2 harrowing hours, firefighters battled the inferno, which threatened to spread to nearby properties. The heat was so intense that witnesses reported feeling it from hundreds of meters away. Yet somehow, in what can only be described as a miracle, 3 of the 4 crew members survived, including the pilot. Sadly, 1 crew member lost their life in the disaster. The horrifying CCTV footage was captured in India on October 31, 2024. At first glance, it might seem like a gas explosion, but the reality is even more startling. It was an explosion of onion bombs, a type of handmade firecracker. As seen in the video, 2 men were riding a white scooter down a narrow street around 12:17 p.m. One of them was carrying a bag filled with these explosive firecrackers, traditionally used for Diwali celebrations. The ride seemed uneventful until they reached a junction near a local temple, where their scooter hit a pothole. The impact caused the firecrackers to fall from the bag, triggering a catastrophic explosion. The blast's force sent dark gray smoke billowing into the air, scattering debris and filling the area with a deafening roar. A group of 5 men standing at the junction were also caught in the explosive's radius. 2 of the men miraculously managed to escape the worst of the blast. Disoriented and clutching their ears, all 6 men, including the person handling the explosives on the scooter, were rushed to the district hospital for treatment. Tragically, the rider of the bike suffered severe burns and succumbed to his injuries. For our bonus clip, we take you to Rolling Hills Estates, California, where an astonishing and unsettling display of nature's raw power was caught on camera. In what looks like a scene from a disaster movie, this footage from Rolling Hills Estates, California, shows a nightmare scenario for any homeowner. The house isn't crumbling due to poor construction. It's literally being torn apart. The foundation is giving way as the ground beneath shifts dramatically, slowly pulling the structure apart, splitting it down the middle in a terrifying display of nature's raw power. Caused by a devastating landslide triggered by heavy winter rains that saturated the steep hillsides in this area. The excess water destabilized the soil, causing the hillside to slowly creep downhill, taking everything in its path. This horror, however, wasn't entirely unforeseen. Rolling Hills Estates has been identified as a high-risk zone for over a century, and despite the warnings, development in the area continued. Now, families are left to watch helplessly as their homes are claimed by the unrelenting force of nature.